The story starts with a pathetic commoner crying while some nobles laugh at him. One of the nobles mentions that he will grant the commoner a gift before his death and asks him to strike him with his magic. The commoner uses his magic but can only cast a puny flame, which does nothing to the noble. The others laugh at him after seeing his weak magic, and the noble remarks that this is the best a commoner like him can do. He states that lineage, talent, and diligence are the most important things for a mage, quoting the father of magic, William Bordeaux. The noble declares that magic will never favor a commoner like him and then uses a powerful flame spell on the commoner. As the commoner starts to burn, instead of shouting in agony, he thinks the flames are magnificent and must be the type of magic a noble can use. He finds it painful but also beautiful and wishes he could do something like this. He regrets not having learned and mastered more magic. The scene cuts to him opening his eyes, surrounded by several maids. He notices that they look like giants and tries to defend himself with a fireball. He realizes his hands are tiny and the fireball he casts blows a hole through the castle wall. Afterwards, we see a child spreading news about the birth of the seventh prince of the Saloon Kingdom, named Lloyd. The citizens are happy to hear this, and meanwhile, the maids are surprised by the prince's magic. 10 years pass, and the maids in the castle are looking for Prince Lloyd but can't find him. Lloyd tries to sneak away but encounters a few court officials. He asks them not to tell the maids they saw him. One of the officials asks if he wants to go on a hunt with them. But the prince sneaks away. The other official says that as the seventh prince, there is almost no chance of him inheriting the throne, so they shouldn't waste time buttering him up. The official mentions that this isn't true, as Lloyd could speak shortly after birth, read spell books instead of picture books, and refuse to drink breast milk like a gentleman. He believes Prince Lloyd is the reincarnation of William Bordeaux. The other official thinks this is ridiculous. Lloyd then reveals that he has reincarnated. He was just a commoner in his past life and doesn't know why his memories are intact. He doesn't care about his status or glory and follows the same philosophy as in his past life. He enters the library, thinking all he wants is to discover how much awesome magic he can in this palace. He thinks the library here surpasses the collection of the Saloon Magic Academy. As he tries to read a book, one of the maids, named Silpha, finds him, and the two of them train with the sword. Lloyd doubts that a seventh prince who has no shot at the throne needs sword training, but Silpha tells him that as a royal family member, he needs to be familiar with handling a sword. She mentions that it's been 3 years since she was put in charge of Lloyd's education, and it has become her purpose in life. Lloyd thinks that Silpha will train him until evening if he doesn't show improvement, so he fights her seriously. The two cross swords, and Lloyd notes that Silpha always holds back while fighting him. He uses control-type magic to trace all of her movements, considering it cheating, but he just wants to read books. He continues fighting and realizes he is still no match for her due to gaps in arm strength, stamina, and height. Even if he copies her techniques, these disadvantages always put him behind. He decides to cheat enough to make up for all that, using magic to increase the length of his sword, enhance himself physically, and levitate. The fight becomes more equal, and Lloyd puts up a great fight against her. He tries to land the finishing blow, but Silpha blocks his attack and wonders if Lloyd is cheating. She then takes him down and discovers that Lloyd was using levitation magic to make up for his height difference and had extended the reach of his sword. She is happy to see how talented Lloyd is and jumps for joy, discovering he can use 2 spells at once, a feat difficult even for court magicians. Lloyd is relieved she didn't find out about his physical enhancement and control magic, thinking that he was using 4 spells at once but won't tell Silpha about this. The scene then cuts to Lloyd in the bath with the other maids, and he tells them that he can bathe on his own. Silpha states that she knows Lloyd will just bury himself in a pile of books if she leaves him be, and Lloyd wonders why this is happening to him. Some of the maids then tell him that the Forbidden Library demon will gobble him up if he doesn't listen to them like a good boy. Lloyd wonders what the Forbidden Library demon is. The maids tell him that long ago, Salem was nearly destroyed, and only after the sacrifice of countless men was the demon sealed in a book called Grimoire. Silpha mentions that this book is supposed to be sealed in the castle's underground Forbidden Library, adding that this must only be a fairy tale. She states that a demon who has been sealed away can't do anything, and Lloyd shouldn't be afraid of such a thing. They then notice Lloyd quivering and think it's cute. One of the maids asks Lloyd to sleep with her tonight if he is afraid, and all the maids start fighting over whom Lloyd will sleep with. During all this, Lloyd sneaks away, and we see that he was quivering with excitement, not fear. At night, Lloyd sneaks out of his room and uses concealment magic to hide himself. He heads to the forbidden library. One of the guards guarding the gate yawns, and the other asks him to be on his toes, noting that a powerful demon and magic that can shake the entire kingdom are in the library. Lloyd enters the library without being noticed. Meanwhile, the other guard mentions that no one will be able to enter the library even if they get past them, as the gate inside is sealed by the sealing spells of the 10 most powerful mages. Lloyd manages to break the seal easily and notices a large collection of books inside. He thinks he had no idea there was a place like this in the palace and tries to read as many books as he can. Lloyd thinks he will have to replace the barrier after he finishes checking out all the books. A demon then comes out of one of the books, impressed that Lloyd managed to break the seal and enter. Lloyd wonders who he is. The demon introduces himself as Grimoire, and Lloyd introduces himself as well. Grimoire then asks Lloyd to unseal him, mentioning that this will eventually happen as his seal has degraded over time. He states that in exchange, he will give Lloyd as much gold as he wants. Lloyd notices that the gold is just earth transformed into gold with creation magic and remarks that Grimoire's creation magic isn't that good. Lloyd states that there is nothing to worry about as he will replace the seal and mentions that his study of magic is based in this kingdom, so he can let a demon threaten it. Grimoire mentions that the mage who sealed him lived ages ago and he has no beef with the current humans, but Lloyd doesn't believe him. Grimoire then offers to teach Lloyd ancient magic if he frees him, which piques Lloyd's interest. Lloyd wonders if Grimoire is really going to teach him, and Grimoire assures him that he will, noting that he can tell Lloyd has plenty of magic talent. Lloyd then unseals Grimoire and asks him to teach him ancient magic. Grimoire attacks him with an ancient spell called Arcus Obscura. Thinking this should have killed Lloyd, he wonders what to do next but notices that Lloyd is totally fine, having erected a barrier around himself. Lloyd mentions that this was a great spell and asks Grimoire to show him more of it. Grimoire attacks him with more of the same spell, but none manage to penetrate the barrier. Lloyd calmly analyzes the spell, finding it fascinating, and wants to feel what being hit with it is like. He pokes his finger out of the barrier to feel the spell. While the spell damages him, he thinks it is painful but also beautiful. He licks his blood and asks Grimoire what other spells he has. Grimoire then grows another mouth and starts casting 2 spells at once, merging them into a more powerful Arcus Obscura spell. Lloyd's barrier manages to defend against this as well. Lloyd thinks double casting is fascinating but notes that only a demon with 2 mouths can use it. Grimoire is surprised that even this spell wasn't enough to break the barrier, and Lloyd mentions that learning this spell must have been pretty fun. Grimoire then tries to flee, thinking this kid is crazy, but crashes into a barrier. He wonders how many barriers Lloyd has conjured up, and Lloyd mentions that the castle is right above them, so he can't let any mishaps like the last time happen. Grimoire then tries to attack Lloyd again, but Lloyd mentions that he wants to see some defensive magic next and attacks Grimoire with a powerful fire spell, badly injuring him. Lloyd wonders why Grimoire didn't defend himself. Afterwards, Lloyd fixes the room, and Grimoire praises Lloyd for a job well done, calling him master. Lloyd mentions that Grimoire is the amazing one. As demons can't be killed with magic, Grimoire states that magic can still hurt him, and Lloyd expresses curiosity about how much of a beating Grimoire can take. Grimoire gets scared and pledges himself to Lloyd, asking to serve as his familiar. Lloyd agrees but notes that Grimoire will stand out too much in his current form. Grimoire then transforms into a smaller and cuter form, thinking he will use his cuteness to get close to Lloyd and get the drop on him. Lloyd asks him to hop into his pocket, and Grimoire thinks that if he is that close, he will be able to control Lloyd's mind and take over his body, but as soon as he gets closer to Lloyd, he notices that his mana is really dense and realizes he won't be able to lift a single finger against him. Grimoire gets scared and mentions that Lloyd can call him Grim from now on. Deciding that being obedient is the better option for now, Lloyd states that he is going to read all he wants now.